Sophia, welcome. Welcome to our podcast booth.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Have you had a good day so far? Are you enjoying Dcentral?
The day has been absolutely amazing. Came in here really in the morning, got a chance to speak with the speakers, explored some really cool projects, and it's a really good energy. It's great to be here.
Nice. So before we get deep dive into all things GameFi and all things creator economy, just give us a little background on yourself as a person and how you got into the space and why you want to be in this space.
For sure. I mean, I kind of, just like everyone in this space, I kind of landed here some way, somehow, randomly. Web3 came in my trajectory. I was an aerospace engineering student in Montreal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I was supposed to be in aerospace. I mean, I did graduate, but during my studies, we all have that crazy crypto friend that was kind of giving me some information back in 2016, 17.
Right.
And I was really fascinated about the philosophy of decentralization and the sort of like peer-to-peer network. So I was very motivated to learn more, which kind of set me on my path to be an Ethereum developer.
Okay.
Did that on the background. It wasn't really cool back then to put crypto on LinkedIn, so didn't do
You're
that.
ahead of the game.
Everyone thought you were some kind of scammer, so I didn't want to like put it out there. But I did sort of like keep my Web 2 sort of interface. Then it was a bit of a silver lining because I graduated during the year of COVID, which was the worst year for aerospace. One of the best years for Web 3 in a way. My official route started as a PM for one of the first IGO companies, or initial game offerings. So got to kind of incubate the first Web3 games, which were very different back then. It was more of a play-to-earn aspect to them. It wasn't very visual. It was just more so about tokenomics, which is still prevalent today. I'm very fortunate that I got the chance to kind of interact with that very early ecosystem. My next path was Web3 Gaming lead at Polygon Studios.
Okay.
I was actually the first or the second hired person in gaming at Polygon Studios, which was very exciting because Matic was kind of the winner of the last bull run. They're still doing great right now, but it was a really good chance to kind of connect with the ecosystem and also with all the players, see what's working, see what's not working. And I am currently now the head of gaming at Ledgerlink Labs.
That's amazing. So give us a little background on Ledgerlink Labs. What do they do? What's their philosophy? And what's their goal in this space?
For sure. So we're focused right now on sourcing quality projects. We have a couple of verticals. The main one is investments. So once we source projects that match our value-driven thesis, so projects that don't depend on a certain cycle to work. So projects that are just amazing because, first of all, they're consumer-centric. I think this will be the theme of 2022 going into 2023 and forward, are essentially applications that focus on the consumer. And how do we get the consumer? So essentially anything that requires you to have a MetaMask account, we're staying away from. We want projects where everything that's on-chain is happening on the background and we can just let the consumer enjoy the application, whether that's a game or any other sort of application. So anything that kind of corresponds with our thesis, we can help them with their investment. We also have a dev shop, so if we are interested in an early stage project, we'll help them go and develop their tech and also apply our expertise there as well. We're very interested in onboarding IP. We've kind of been there, done that, and realized what works, what doesn't work, and figured out a way to essentially activate IP in a meaningful way and still get to retain the initial original fandom and also get some Web3 fandom going there. So that's something that we're very focused on right now. We're very bullish on IP. We're very bullish on meaningful, value-driven projects.
Let's talk a little bit about Web3. And as with any new technology that's pegged for disruption, there's always a bit of skepticism. And Web3 gaming has been pegged as the kind of gateway to onboard the next billion users into Web3. Can you just talk a little bit to that? Is that true, number one? And number two is how, and is it necessary?
Well, I mean, I think Web3, gaming in general, in Web3 has been the first sort of like utility for token issuance. So playing your game and kind of getting rewards through tokens or NFTs. So that's a model that intrinsically works.
Okay.
It's a model that's still in development just because it is a bit technical to kind of figure out how to interact with the tools that would allow you to open up a wallet. How do you send an NFT? How do you receive an NFT? Which marketplace should you go on? Which exchange should you be on? So there is sort of that technical aspect of it that we're trying to bridge with a consumer-friendly sort of approach.
Okay.
I think gaming in general we've seen the likes of Fortnite, so just amazing games, and I think the skepticism also comes from the quality of the games that are quote-unquote Web3 games, where it's kind of like those games that it looks like something that your uncle used to play back in the 90s, which is weird because we should be evolving, right? Versus kind of like going back to that.
Yeah, the user interface is bad, right? Yeah.
It's just weird, right?
Yeah.
It just almost feels like we're going back in time. But there is that nostalgia vibe that a lot of Web3 games have kind of capitalized on, where like that box-slated look. So that does seem to work. More so in the APAC region because they are very tokenomics heavy.
Okay.
In terms of the real good games with the amazing AAA studios, I think we're getting there. I think they're also in their research phase where there is that skepticism, but eventually I think it will be up to the consumer if getting rewards in the form of tokens or NFTs makes sense. I mean, the absolute sort of bottom line and common derivative here is that you get to have ownership of your assets, and I think that's a really powerful feature.
Yeah. Do you think, a bit of a contentious question, do you think gaming needs Web3, or actually it's Web3 that needs gaming?
I think they need each other. I think it's all about evolution, and I think as well that the consumer also would like to own their assets, versus having their assets live on a server that they can't access if they're not playing the game. So it's just sort of like this wallet that you get to actually have your assets. I think there's a big distinction now more than ever between Web3 and crypto, where Web3 is more application based. You can have a token there, that's all fine and dandy, but at the end of the day, it's all about, is your application decentralized? Is your application sort of allowing consumers to be empowered through ownership? So I think to that matter, gaming will help us onboard the first sort of billion users onto Web3.
Yeah.
But I think the potential for Web3 goes way beyond just gaming.
Can we talk about the aspect of value in games? To me, gaming is fun. Like, that's what it equals. It's fun, and you should enjoy it. And you associate it with your childhood, and like, there's a lot of gamers that still exist today that are my age, my friends. But are we asking too much of it in terms of like onboarding? Like, are we removing the fun from it in this new kind of world that we're living in?
Well, my thesis is that because of, we've seen what sort of happened in the market right now. I'm not going to say a certain word because I don't know if you guys can allow that, but it hasn't been going great. And usually what happens when you have markets like this is that the consumers or the people kind of retract their community and culture, where they kind of get to play like whichever casual game or any kind of game that they want to play without having to kind of interact with the stress of the ecosystem, because that's not something that they have to deal with. So I think the saving grace here would be to kind of not stress anyone with the market and have just like great games that people would get to play, and all the sort of techie stuff happens on the background. Because you don't want to be playing your game and then worrying about the token price of the game.
Right.
Unless you're playing it for speculative purposes. But in general, I think we should be evolving more towards having tokenomics that are more lenient towards in-game tokenomics, so not having it flood the market, but kind of like keeping the token within the game. I think that would be the positive step forward, in my opinion.
Okay, so being on a Web3 app shouldn't be market dependent is basically what you're kind of coming to, right?
I think a good game should never be market dependent. So you're going to play Fortnite whether we're in a recession or not. And I think that should also apply to Web3 gaming. The market right now in Web3 gaming is very speculative. It's more of the investor model, and I think we're going to head more towards the gamer model, which I really hope to see within the next 1 to 2 years.
Okay. And to you, what does the creator economy mean to you in 2022?
I think the creator economy is essentially giving the creators the tools that they need, and also the autonomy that they need beyond the sort of control that they would usually be subjected to in the Web2 world, where you kind of have studios, you have contracts, you have liabilities, and you have all these set of rules that you have to abide by before even creating.
Yep.
And I think what's so special about Web3 is that we're kind of empowering creators, through ownership, through marketplaces that don't charge the royalties and don't have the middlemen that are required in the traditional world. I think it's also about preserving the works of creators, where there's a decentralized ledger that can allow you to prove that you are the creator, that you are the original creator, and I think that's a very powerful thing as well. It kind of puts you away from having plagiarism or anyone kind of copy your work.
100%.
And so yeah, I think Web3 is all about empowering creators.
And what do you think we need to upgrade to get to where you want to get to in terms of gaming?
I think we should definitely have more quality games enter the space, so more so traditional IP that can make a step, so IP that everyone knows and is aware of. So I think if, like, for example, if Fortnite decided to have their own chain, they would be bigger than the whole Ethereum ecosystem just by onboarding their users.
Okay.
And I think people just want to play great games. So the way to that is by having great Web3 games. And the second point, which I can't stress enough, is having games that are consumer friendly.
Yeah.
So don't expect your users to know how to use MetaMask.
Yes. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, like, just every time you're building a game, just think of your next door neighbor. Like, will he know how to use MetaMask? Probably not. Will he know how to bridge tokens? Probably not.
Yeah.
And like, sort of like leaving that to your dev team to figure out, so that the user can have a seamless experience. And the other thing I would say is kind of like having more of an educational element. So, educating your user about Web3 and building technology that tries to get to the consumer versus trying to sell the technology to the consumer. So everyone knows what they want, and it's kind of like making it easier for them to get there.
100%. Okay, and then 5 years' time, where do you hope gaming is at, and where do you think it will be at in reality?
So, I mean, we're seeing the immersive sort of experiences that are coming out, with all the new VR headsets. So I think it will be a much more immersive experience.
Yeah.
Versus just having your console on your TV, so kind of like being in the game and just kind of making it as multi-sensory as we can.
Right.
Just so like you don't have that latency like with the traditional world, and kind of have like those distractions, like when you put your headset on, like you're in the game, you're there already. So I see a lot of traditional IP entering the Web3 space. I see the value of ownership becoming much more prominent, and will eventually, I think, become a demand.
Okay.
That the user, that the player gets to own their assets. I think that we will be seeing that this will no longer be a luxury, but more so a need.
You have such a great story. I love, your aerospace background, and you coming out of university during COVID, and that being, a terrible industry to be in, and now delving into this. It's fascinating.
I mean, if the industry, if it keeps crashing, I'll probably go back to aerospace. I always have that little saving grace, but I mean, I think this is like one of the most special industries out there. Everyone's very friendly. Everyone's very open to talk. Like there's that.
It's community driven.
Yeah, and there's that open source vibe about it as well. You get to talk to everyone. Everyone is willing to have a conversation, which I think is great. So, super happy to be here.
So before we wrap things up, what do you want? What's your message to everyone here today? What do you want people to take from your talks, your podcast, etc.?
I mean, I want everyone to talk to everyone. If you see anyone with a badge or without a badge, like go there, ask the questions, have meaningful conversations. I think what's great, and I don't know if you've noticed this as well, but I haven't seen anyone talking about tokens here. It's really about what is your project and how is your project going to help, or what is the solution that you're
What's your philosophy? Yeah.
What's your philosophy, exactly. So I do really appreciate that. I just had a conversation outside with a cowboy that's promoting a project, and he was talking to me about staking, which I think is really cool about Web3, because you have all these interesting, colorful characters. So it's a great opportunity to go out there, ask questions, and have meaningful conversations.
Yeah, asking questions, being curious, 100%.
Absolutely.
Soufia, this has been such a pleasure. Last thing, where can we all find you? Website, socials, etc.?
For sure. So you can find us. So you can find me on LinkedIn. My name is Soufia Trabelsi. You can find us on our website, ledgerlinklabs.com. I'll be here till the 5th doing our basils. Going to be speaking tomorrow, so please feel free to reach out. And most importantly, my Telegram is Cyborg Sophia, so you can connect with me there as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.